Let's roll. This is Countercharge, your podcast for ranks, flanks, and kings of war. Join your hosts as they delve into the world of Panithor and bring you worldwide coverage of all things Kings of War.
Welcome to Countercharge. I'm Rob Fanoff.
And I'm Matt Croger. Welcome to our March Fireside. The year is flying by before my eyes, Robert. Jeremy's gallivanting around Adepticon in a thong somewhere, and having a good time.
Thong, and he's got some medals, right? Because he won some painting awards in the MCB tournament.
That's right. By now, it might be all he's wearing.
A little banana hammock and medals. Put that mental note in your head and smoke it.
I thought I was the one that did metaphors around here. That's a good one. I'm going to use that. Yeah. And so we're here to chat, I guess, all things from the previous month. There's been a little bit happening across the Vault and Kickstarters and things. We had our good episode with Ronnie, which, a couple of people have said to me, Rob, that the real sleeper thing that they picked up on was alluding to the epic scale for Kings of War may be on the radar.
That was a question from one of the listeners, and we threw it at right at the end of the show while we were wrapping up, and we got a great response there. I think that's interesting that it's on their radar. The flip side is it always does concern me the potential to spread themselves too thin, right? And they've got so many games already. They've got, as we're going to talk about, the Dreadball All-Stars Kickstarter going. They're getting ready to launch the Kickstarter for Ghost in the Shell based on the manga, not the animated movie and TV show. But hey, this might be a game that could just never go to retail, right? This could be a thing where they just make 4 or 5, 10 armies, whatever. I don't think it'd be crazy. And now that I think about it, Matt, if you wanted to go Kings of War 10 millimeter, like you take the Salamanders, for example, couldn't they just scale those guys down? They already have the models, just scale them down and put them on a strip like you would with War Master, where you've got a strip of 5 guys. I think that's totally possible. Yeah,
maybe that's what they're thinking essentially, is that it's just a bit of reorganization. I mean, people could kind of do that already, right? But I totally agree with you on the, would it spread them a little bit too thin? But I think it would be hard to resist the success of the epic Kickstarter that they had. I think that just went so well. And it is a recurring question, isn't it? I mean, it's the reason we asked. To be honest, I thought it was a throwaway question. I did not expect the answer.
No, I don't think any of us expected them to go, oh, yeah. You bring up a good point with Epic Warpath. I mean, they almost had, 400,000 pounds? I don't know what that is in dollars, but that's not nothing, right?
No.
That's a pretty good chunk of change.
The other thing to remember is there certainly wasn't a time frame on it. So it was definitely not this year. I'd probably be surprised, given that we're getting 6 monthly releases for Kings, for it to even be next year, to be honest.
And you're absolutely right. And we did have some other questions asking about potential other games, which we didn't get to. I think his comment about no more new games this year, I think kind of, if there is going to be a, Battlefleet Gothic equivalent Mantic game, that's certainly not on the cards for this year. So that might be something we have to push and start asking about later this year and see what's coming into 2027.
For sure.
Because our dance card's full right now.
Yeah, pretty full. There is a fair bit going on, isn't there? Well, why don't we roll into our hobby update, Rob? What have you been up to?
So I've decided to try to get my $300 compressor for the airbrush repaired. I put off getting an airbrush for so long, but now that I have it, and then haven't had it for 9 months at this point, I don't even want to really paint without it. Because I'm I do all my base coating with it. I do my gradations. You know what I mean? I do my clear coats. It's it is like losing an arm. And so, hopefully they'll be able to, I think it's a Ninja, Iwata Ninja, I think it's what it's called. So hopefully they'll be able to repair it. If not, I have budgeted another, whatever it is, $300 to get a new one. But I'm itching. I'm itching to get the airbrush back out. And to be fair, I have been doing some painting, and by base coating, I've been using the old Iwata Neo, which is a really crappy little portable, cheap compressor thing. It's really bad, but it's fine for just base coating. So I have been using that, but I really, to really get into the painting and the more than just priming, I really need I need to be able to run that Awada Eclipse with a real compressor. So, but I have got a good start on some bases now. I started to put some other models together just because I know I've not got where I wanted to get with the Forest Trolls. I went ahead and started putting like the next period, the next 6-week block worth of models together. So I'm working on that. But yeah, how about you? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to tell me you've already painted like 1,500 points and you're moving on to the next army.
I wish that was the case. I think last night and this morning as we're recording is the first time I've picked up a brush in weeks, sadly. I know what you mean about the airbrush. It's, I finally learned how to use mine, and it's just been, like you say, for those base coats, and particularly for basing. Oh, it's so good for basing, like getting that paint on your bases. I wouldn't want to do without mine now, but I've been, picked up the brush last night, so I'm starting to get some colour on some bases. Just starting to get the purples and the oranges on the corals there, Rob. But like all the water effects are done. But no, it's just been still very busy. We had a location where we had some staff get hit by fire, and while we're trying to do a new fit out and things, so it's just been a very busy time. So I'm hoping things are going to swing soon, and just going to get a little bit easier. I have got a whole bunch of models assembled, so I'm thinking that once I break the old camel's back of the basing and getting that painted, that I think that I'll end up in a good place. But we'll see, mate. We'll see. I tell you one thing I did do, and I've printed out a little bit of. I went on and I backed the Walking Dead Frontier or Tribe or whatever they call it on My Mini Factory, because I just looked at it. To be honest, it was a bit of an impulse because I played for the first time Zombicide 2 as a board game, and I was like, oh, now I want zombie characters. And so I knew them, and I went on there thinking, this will probably be a fairly poorly supported tribe on My Mini Factory in terms of not people on it. There's 750 subscribers. So that's a pretty decent little net for them for a game they've basically already produced and made money off, and then they can make, another $7,500 a month off it.
Yeah, I mean, they got to find new ways to make money, right? Especially while they are really pumping a lot of effort into Kings of War, and they're not probably seeing it yet, right? They're not seeing the returns yet, because I think at some point you'll hit the critical mass where enough of the new books are out and armies have been tweaked and additional models are out. Then you'll start to see, maybe the return. Because I did find, if you recall, Ronnie just mentioned that it's sort of sales are basically the same.
Yeah, pretty much the same as third, he said.
Obviously, there's opportunities for growth there, though, once they get a little bit more out.
Yeah, that was probably something else I was surprised about. But then when I look at some of the reaction around armies, I guess you kind of go, that makes sense too. I think there is still a lot of dormant interest. I still don't think you don't see a lot of chatter about the disenchanted chatter is still around equality between the armies, right? So I think as we see more books come out, I do expect to see that interest grow a little bit more. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think more books coming out, more additional updates to existing ranges, or maybe new ranges. I think it's just going to continue to drive in the right direction.
Actually, on the hobby front, I've been so busy. I had a big order of extra stuff for like the Trident Realms. I think a couple of Abyssal things and for the Zerkali come in. I haven't even been to the shop to pick it up. It's been sitting there for like 3 or 4 weeks. The guy messaged me yesterday. He's like, "You going to pick up this stuff?" I was like, "Oh, I haven't even had time to think about it." But I'm looking forward to, getting my hands on that. I am looking forward to getting paint on some of these Trident Realms models, actually. Doing the bases has enthused me more about the army than the actual rules did.
It's funny you say you haven't been to the shop in a while to pick up stuff. I'm the same way. I don't know the last time I've been to War Room. It's been a long time.
Well, that's massive for you.
The only games I've gotten in recently were Blue Sea Brawl, right? I used to go every Thursday night, but with work, my priorities have changed. So,
how did Blue City Brawl go?
It went well. We didn't do that well at the event. We just took Ogres and Trident Realms, 2 armies we already had painted. And I think we were 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. So, not terrible. Mm-hmm. But our 2 losses were epically bad, right? Like, got totally smashed. In the last game, man, one of the players we were playing against had undead, man. Man, they're legit, man. The undead are legit.
Fearless is good.
The werewolves, man, are great, right? I mean, they're so fast, they hit. And Strider? That might have been a mistake. Maybe just a little bit of a mistake. You know, hitting on threes with Strider is a little bit much, but we'll see though.
I think I recall you mentioning something that you found that something in the 4th edition rules didn't work that well for pairs or doubles.
A pairing event where you treat each other's army as an ally. There's just certain things that shouldn't be able to do things like there's certain units you shouldn't be able to surge, right? Or there's certain things you shouldn't get, heal on. Through the event, one of the things I realized is I don't know 4th edition very well yet. I haven't played it enough. And there was a lot of stuff that popped up. I'm like, really? That's how it works? Okay. Not all of it's intuitive. So the one thing that kind of got me a few times over the weekend was where you reform and then charge another unit going into the same unit right through the reforming unit. That was kind of weird to me. I'm getting used to it now, but being able to reform yourself into a position to maybe block, to cover up maybe difficult terrain or something, and allow your other unit to just go around and right through your own unit and be unhindered and stuff. It's the rules, right? Now you have the ability to take whatever path you want as long as you have the distance and you have the number of pivots, right? So it's just, I've got to get my head around it.
Yeah, I certainly think there's a few things that feel so different to 3rd edition that it does take a while, isn't there?
And I'm not completely there yet because I haven't played as many games recently.
Yeah. I reckon I'm still sub 10 games.
Well, I'm more than 10 games. I'm probably like 25 games, probably 30 games. But I played a lot of the same player. So I played against a lot of salamanders, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff there too, right? Like, I just don't think Commandants, they are way underpointed for what they do. When we got the preview copy and we were playing, and I was playing Dylan and his salamanders, it's like, I kind of felt like, oh man, the shooting is pretty powerful. But Dylan wasn't really leaning into it. He didn't have Commandants. He didn't really double down. And now that I've played some of those armies that are doubling down, it's like, okay, wait, this might be something that has to be corrected long term. We'll see. I'm not someone I'm not going to say we have to do it now. I think we need more data. But, certainly it does give me pause.
Yeah, which would be exactly the same as the start of 3rd, really, right?
100%. 100%.
But to be honest, my memory is it felt worse at the start of 3rd. I think with shooting now, you're not getting the massive war machines from goblins and things like that, right? You're getting, because you got to unlock them, but you're getting other bench shooting, but it is a little bit more varied than a few broken builds.
Yeah, I mean, like the goblins, the trombones are does the, it's pretty good, right? And it's easy to unlock 4 of them when you have 80-point regiments. As we talk about it, I think the issue is it used to be you hit on a certain number. If you moved, you took a penalty. If you had steady aim, you didn't take the penalty. Take Gladestalkers, they're moving back, but they're still hitting on 4s. Well, now it's the other way around, whereas you don't take a penalty for moving, but you don't get the benefit for standing still, right? You get a benefit if you stand still. And so now that may have opened up some other units that maybe you don't want to move. When you're in the grind, you don't need to move the trombone. You got it in its right position, and it's just going to lay down the fire. That is probably where somebody needs to look at it. I'm almost thinking that they just need to say, you can have the +1 to hit, right? But it can't be better than 4.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, our tackle hits on 3s normally. So if she stands still, she hits on 2s. It's a little bit over the top, but I'm only speaking from 30 games, so I could be completely wrong. There may be really great tactics to stop that, and I haven't seen it yet. So, but in 6 months, we definitely need to have that conversation. And I think Ronnie in our conversation kind of alluded that there might be some more stuff in that book. Maybe they update some of the commands to try to help some of the, to maybe add some more spice.
Yeah, I hope there's not too many though, because I do agree with you. I don't think. I mean, personally, I've been a bit disconnected from Facebook, so, I'm not quite sure how much has been happening. But
well, you're not even allowed to have Facebook in Australia, right?
Yeah, that's because I'm under 16.
You're right, you're under 16, right? So.
Yeah, apparently they go on emotional age. Got me. They got me. Damn you, Zach. I don't think there's enough data anywhere. Like, I'm not seeing masses of tournaments having been played yet. Are you?
Blue City was only 20 plus players. I don't remember the exact number. I mean, I guess was it Bayou Battles? Did that happen? And that had a few players. And we're having Adepticon as we speak, right? So
what's that got? Somewhere between 20 and 40, or
I think 40 to 50, somewhere in there probably. Lone Wolf will be the big one. I think there's probably 60, 70 players going to that. So that'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. And as Ronnie mentioned in our discussion, he's going to be there. So if you're on the fence for going to Lone Wolf, it's going to be a hell of an event. And then you get the added cherry on the Sunday from Ronnie being there.
Oh, yeah. Everyone loves a Ronnie cherry.
By the way, I love the fact that both Jeremy and you got name dropped by Ronnie on Bedroom Battlefields podcast. You know, he made a specific mention about your 40th birthday party. Epic. And then he mentioned going to see Jeremy in Napa Valley. So
he can be easy to please, that man. Feed him, water him, you know, and he's
alcohol
friend for life. Yeah. And boy, there was some good alcohol, I'll tell you that, you know. Mm. No, well, I'm going to have to go and listen to that now, because I said to you, I was like, how on earth do you find these random mentions on like different podcasts that I've never even heard of?
Well, I listen to that podcast off and on. I don't listen to it consistently, but Ronnie popped up in the feed. It's like, we got Ronnie Renton on. So it is funny because I think he may have had a bent where the way he reached out to us, he might have reached out to a bunch of people and went on a bunch of podcasts, I assume. Mm-hmm.
Alex must have pushed him out the door.
So he popped up, and then I said, well, I'll give it a listen. And sure enough, it was a little discussion about mostly Dreadball All-Stars, but he didn't shortchange his praise for you hosts.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. You're going to have to host him.
Napa Valley's got wine. Australia's got great beaches. But yeah, maybe someday.
It's got the golden didgeridoo, as Jeremy
that's
would
right.
say.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting is if he comes back, because we have the World Cup coming up at some point here in the U.S. So
true. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Maybe he'll come over.
On a sponsored work trip.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Even though I don't know if England's any good in football, I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. Well, let's take a quick commercial break. On the other side, let's jump in and talk a little Mantic news. We'll be right back.
I'm Robbie King, the U.S. Masters Paragon, and you're listening to Countercharge.
Well, welcome back to Countercharge. Just a quick errata from our Ronnie episode. In that episode, Ronnie was a bit confused and mentioned that the second book would be coming out in May. Actually, what he meant to say was Mantic will be sharing more information about the book in May, so stay tuned for further details. And Matt, it's been a while since we touched base about things going around in the sphere of Mantic, and since last month to this month, they did drop some pretty kick-ass alternate head sculpts, or I should say digital alternate head sculpts, for the Zakali. What do you think about those? There's like 6 different breeds, but they're armored and unarmored. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, we mentioned them on the cast with Ronnie, but we haven't really talked about them properly, have we? It's you look at them, and like you say, I think one of the really good things is you get a few bald heads and a few covered scones. So it's good. I think I mentioned to you kind of the top 2 left, the Wolfhoundy thing, and the middle row on the left. Maybe I don't see them as super different from what we got already. I'm probably a bigger fan of I like the Wolfhound, but otherwise the more different ones, with the pug. Or I'm a big fan of the Chihuahua. I think that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I should say these heads are not obviously to scale to each other, right? Because they're all roughly the same size.
Yeah.
So you have to take reality and throw it over your shoulder. But yeah, I'm a fan of the Bulldog. I think that's pretty cool, and I guess that's a Great Dane or a Mastiff. It's I don't know. It's obviously a big dog. But yeah, the Chihuahua and the Pug are also pretty awesome.
I think the Chihuahua could be particularly good for like character models. Wizened old dogs.
I just like the fact though you got both alternates, right? So to your point, if you wanted a bunch of Chihuahuas in a unit, you could have them without the helmet, but then you can have a character in the front rank with the helmet to make him stand out as like a hero, right? So
yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. And there's 6 different dog breeds here. I would love to see us get another 6.
And I think that's pretty easy to produce, right?
You produce the unarmored head and then just add a helmet to it, right? So I think most of the work is done I would assume on doing the sculpt for the unarmored head.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking the fact that I've left my Zakali in the box for now, given that we're getting some releases, and see what we've really got.
I think Zerkali, if without these heads, all the armies are going to kind of look the same. But now there's some options to really mix it up a little bit. Some crazy people are going to have all pug armies, right? And other ones are going to have different, breeds all intermixed together. Cats and dogs living together.
And I think on top of that, with the Zerkali, Rob, we also haven't really talked about it individually on the podcast, but they released some characters that you can buy individually too. Yeah, which I think was cool. And I remember having a look at those. They looked pretty tasty. So I think in the vault, there was the Zerkali hero, wasn't there, with the monk character.
Was that actually a month? That's March, right? We haven't talked in a while, so that's the month of March, right?
Yeah.
It's got the human
right.
Zerkali, whatever they call those guys. And how about the ancient sculpts, the heads and the arms? Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Like,
I've been waiting for the ancients.
I painted some primes up and I use them as ancients, but they're done. They're going to be their primes now because these ancients are badass. Extra big horns, nose rings. The best part about it is they are, having painted a lot of primes, they're going to fit in perfectly. They've taken a prime head and made it go to 11, right? So it's going to be awesome.
I think in general, even the older ones, the resin additions they've done for the salamanders to the infantry models are pretty damn good. They fit pretty well.
Ceremonial guard. Oh, I love it, dude.
Oh, yeah, they're tasty.
Love it.
Yeah. They're really good.
So, but, and in the month of March, everybody's been talking about the generic truck that they've added,
Oh, yes.
and Strider bits. And then I don't know what the heck this mechanical spider thing is, but I think it's a Dead Zone piece, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Have to be Dead Zone, wouldn't it?
I don't know, dude. I don't. Yeah, I know very little. I would recommend people to go listen to a different podcast
for sci-fi.
For sci-fi, because I'm certainly not the guy, right?
No.
But yeah, super cool.
No, Jeremy often has a better idea than we do. But yeah, the other characters for the Zakali, where they released Beta Witch Eater, and he had the big flying bladed disc thing, which was super cool, and then the Kulan Kaiju Slayer. So I think, has that just about filled out the army? I think that's just about done.
And that's nice to see.
And the Prowlmaster came out too, because that was a limited edition only with the all-in at first. So, that's cool that it's more accessible now.
Let's just jump to April. I mean, that's another banger month, right? Especially if you're into the Ratkin, right? You've got the claw shots. You've got what's that? The Fiend? What is that thing called?
The Mutant Rat Fiend.
The Mutant Rat Fiend, yeah. And it's got the birthing daughter.
Yeah.
And then it's got this crazy goblin weapon that must be Warpath.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of bits from Terrain Crate. So another banging month, especially if you're into Ratkin.
Yeah, I thought we were thought the well might be running a little bit dry soon, but they're still managing to march on. And you mentioned some pretty sweet Terrain Crate pieces on there.
Yeah, I don't know if some of these are actually in Terrain Crate, because I bought heavy into Terrain Crate, but there's some pieces in here that I don't recall, like a little stand that has like pickaxes and shovels and lanterns. I don't remember that piece. I do remember the mine cart. I do remember all the tracks and stuff, but yeah, it's a great month. That Mutant Rat Fiend is a big giant monster, right? And so I think, I don't know, you could certainly use him as a Rat Fiend, but man, you could also scale him down and make something else, right? There's lots of different units you could probably, find a use for them. So,
yeah, can you imagine a super tiny one?
Yeah, so I was thinking, little tiny guy. Hey, I'm a Rat Fiend. Hey, look at me. That'd be pretty awesome on your base. I don't recall which movie, but any of those movies where you got like a little tiny mouse like leading a big giant army of humans or something, and he's up there like
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. Somebody to take that guy, scale him down to like 10%. He's a little tiny dude standing on a rock. Look at me down here. Come on. Yeah, another great month. Yeah, I'm looking forward to printing some of this stuff out in April. The claw shots in particular, I was thinking about it, man. I need to see. I really dig the way they made those claw shots with the shields and the guns, and I'm just wondering, man, it'd be cool to make maybe like a Because, they don't really make a real trombone model except for like the metal one. And I made mine out of Ratkin War Engines, which is fine, though. The one that looks like the big bug sprayer on wheels. But like, if you had these claw shots, if there was a way to maybe change the head out, and maybe we need to ask our buddy Luke from Australia, like, hey, man, let's take the head off this guy, put a goblin head on there. That could be a sweet, sweet, sweet trombone.
Because I think a lot of people kit bash trombones, don't they? Because of that, like that's an old school model.
The model itself is fine. It's just it's metal, and I have no use for that. Plus, it's an old enough sculpt that the goblins themselves that go with the trombone are that old style with like the really big nose. You know what I'm talking about? The ones that old style.
Yeah, they're
like
not
early
that really
second edition.
new thematic that they did.
Yeah. So maybe when the goblins finally get in one of the new books, we'll get some war engines fleshed out. Proper war engines. But
I'm definitely excited for the new book. I'm definitely excited to see what like phase 2 of this army rollout looks like.
Yeah, me too. And I also think that the second book is going to tell you a lot more than the first book did. With the second book, that's your second data point. And so you're going to be able to see, you're going to start to make a trend. Oh, okay. And I also thought it was interesting that Ronnie made a point of saying, hey guys, don't think there's just 4 armies in here, right? There's more stuff. And so I'm curious, okay, well, what's going to be in here? Are there going to be additional commands for other armies? Is there rule tweaks? What are we going to see? And I think this book coming out is going to tell me a lot about what to expect in the future. So, and I think it's got a potential to really hype things up, and make me super excited even more than I already am.
I completely agree with you. And I think that second data point is a good point. You're going to see essentially, so what will we be up to? 8 armies. So close to a third of that have been refreshed.
We at 20 armies now? Is that where we're at?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Because they cut a lot of them, right? People that are listening to this, remember, if you're not happy that an army's been cut, remember it's all Matt's fault. He's been the champion for consolidation and destruction.
You are
for
correct.
A long time.
20. I knew something felt right.
And it's down from like 28, right? So if you want to do new armies in the future, things like Ophidia, well, then you're going to have to make room. You can't just keep making... Can't get 35, 36 armies. I mean, if you think about like 40K, I don't know how many armies are in there, but most of them are Space Marines.
I was going to say 16 of them are the same.
Right. Well, I'm saying like you can kind of lump those all together, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Even though I know people are screaming at their headset right now. No, they're not the same. I'm like, I get it. They're power armored guys, and I know Blood Angels are more combat-y, and Imperial Fists are more defensive. I get some of that stuff, but they are very similar. Right? And this is a good segue. They've got some other stuff coming out, and we'll talk about Dreadball All-Stars in a minute, but they do have the new Kickstarter coming out from Ghost in the Shell, and it's been an interesting response to some of the stuff they posted.
What you've got to understand, Rob, is that model isn't exactly like I imagined it in my mind.
Yeah, so they put out a digital render of a sculpt of the main character from Ghost in the Shell. And first of all, we should make clear, this Kickstarter is for a role-playing game based on the manga, not the anime. So the things that, in my mind, when I think of Ghost in the Shell, I think of the movies and the TV show and all that. That's not what we got here. So they've got the art from the manga, and it definitely looks similar. It's not the same as what I'm used to in the anime. So they made a model on that main character, and feedback has been interesting. On Instagram, it's been relatively positive, but on Facebook, I like the comment that says 18 pounds seems a little steep for a 28 millimeter / 32 millimeter mini for Mantic. Most characters are 12 to 15 pound. 100%. But this is an IP, so
IP and early release, they're offering it so that you can like print it out above everything
but
else.
I'm saying though, like I think 3 pounds is probably going to the IP holder, right? Is my guess.
I think it's pretty representative of the grognards inhabiting Facebook these days, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a nice thing. You've said it nicely.
It's a place that I wish I could do without. And if it wasn't for gaming, particularly now with how like the algorithm is so strong. Like you only have to have looked at one thing, for it to start changing.
And I think we've talked about this offline. I am not a huge fan of social media. I think there's some positives to it. It gives you an opportunity to connect with people that have like passions. But at the same time, the anonymity of it brings out the worst in human nature sometimes. And I should say, I'm sure it's a case of extremes, right? You've got like the extreme fanboys, and you have the extreme anti-fanboys. I don't know what you want to call them, trolls, I guess. So yeah, it's a place that I wish I could do less. Well, it's a place where I could do less with, right? Unfortunately for us, Kings of War has sort of gravitated to that forum. There is the Kings of War forum, and I try to support it the best I can, but it just doesn't have the critical mass that Facebook has.
I know it's reasonably popular amongst our crowd, but it's not a modern platform for how modern people want to interact with in the online space, right? Of reading more in-depth posts, and it's not as, doesn't feel as real time.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think Facebook caters to like the in and out crowd, right? Like, I'm coming in, give me my quick hit, let me get out. Whereas when you go to the Kings of War forum, there are long articulated posts, and it's an investment, right? And I think, collectively our attention span has diminished significantly over the years. Probably part of the reason why we're not playing as many big mass combat games. We're playing more skirmish stuff now. That's probably should be an episode in the future. Just social media in general. We did that a long time ago. If you remember back with Mike Atkins, who was an original Facebook employee from back in the day. So it'd be interesting to think about it now, I don't know, 10 years later. Just to kind of circle back on this,
there actually has been a Ghost in the Shell RPG, but it looks like it was based on the show.
Yeah, based on Ghost in the Shell Arise, which I think is a more modern movie, TV show. So yeah, and that made $500,000. I'll be curious to see how this one does.
And I would generally think manga-based would be more popular.
I don't know, because if I'm being honest, I don't read manga, but I've certainly seen Ghost in the Shell and been a big fan of the anime.
So too many words in manga for you, mate?
I can't get behind the reading from right to left to be reading backwards. I am excited about seeing how this does. To be fair, though, I'm not the target audience, right? I'm not a role player.
No.
So,
no.
Except for in the bedroom.
Not on tabletop, yeah.
I'm channeling my inner Matt today.
We're getting there together, mate. It's good to know I've influenced you over the years.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're a sick person, so I occasionally do try to channel it.
Have I told you about the thing in our room? It's so we changed up the bedrooms in the house because the kids had a playroom, but they were in our room for a long time, and so then we went, right. Well, I was going to get a hobby room back, so we combined their playroom and gave them the master bedroom because it was bigger, so they could just go all in there. But in their kids' bedroom, we had a hammock swing set up for them. Directly above our bed now, there's just this metal bolt in the rafters where we used to hang it. And if people look around the house, I feel the need to call it out and just say, this used to be the kids' room. This is not a sex swing situation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Ghost of the Shell ends up, though. Like I said, just last November, $500,000 went to a Kickstarter for a role-playing game based on a more current version of the anime. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a lot of the old timers that are into the manga. Because I don't know when the manga came out, but the movie came out in like the mid 90s, right? 95 or something. So the manga's got to be older than that.
And it is interesting. Maybe it does hit a crowd. I was just thinking as you said that, we were talking about things like Facebook, and I know they would advertise on things like Instagram too, but I wonder if Kickstarter does have better reach amongst older people because of things like Facebook compared to Instagram.
They put the same post up on Instagram and on Facebook, and you got wildly different responses between the two. They also mentioned that the model is actually going to be available at Adepticon, so this weekend, which by the time you're hearing this is too late, but hopefully you went by the booth and you picked it up if you're so inclined.
So that must mean that they did a small resin run themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether they managed to, I guess it might be one of those situations. I wonder if they're selling it or giving it away. Surely selling it if they're charging £18 elsewhere for it.
Yeah, because I think it's £18. What is that in Freedom Books? I don't know. $25. Yeah. So, that is pricey, right? For sure. But again, I have no idea what the IP is charging.
Yeah, exactly, which sometimes could be outrageous, I'm guessing.
Well, and Alizio has said this has been a passion project for him. So, I think it's a situation where doesn't have to really make financial sense. It just needs to break even, right?
Mm.
You know, it needs to, because part of these kind of activities is really more about bringing people to Mantic Games and, hey, I'm into Ghost of the Shell. And, the hope is that if you sell, I'm just making this up, if you sell, you get 10,000 backers, then maybe you get 1,000 long-term customers.
Well, you open yourself up. As soon as you got their email address right, you get an opportunity to put something else in front of them.
100%.
It's got that effect. Well, speaking of Kickstarters then too,
Yeah.
Dreadball All-Stars has still been going, and I think they're up $160 odd. So US dollars. Only 753 backers. That's interesting.
12 days ago, though, I don't know how long it's been going.
I feel like there wasn't a big progressive unlocks. What are the stretch goals?
There's no stretch goals, I don't think.
Well,
that's what Ronnie said. There's no stretch goals.
And I do wonder how much that affects things like this, because it's not a super cheap entry point, this game. The very basic game is not too bad, I think, but it was about 80 or 90 pounds from memory. So, yes, standard pledge, 80 pounds, 79.
Yeah, so $105. And I think he said on a podcast that, if you don't want to back it, don't back it. Just wait for it to hit retail and, it costs a bit more, but you can support your local gaming store. But obviously by having it through Kickstarter, they're able to get the money quicker and have access to the funds to do the tooling. And I think all the sculpts he said were complete. So I assume that, everything's shown. There's versions of the rules.
Can you click the all-in pledge for me?
200 pounds, but it's got everything.
And what about the one back from that? Well, that's not upgraded.
All-in gameplay pledge.
Yeah, but did you see that? The all-in upgraded pledge is the most popular pledge there by a long way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The £199 one.
I think Dreadball isn't their most popular game, but the people that are into it are really into it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so they may not have a lot of Dreadball players in comparison to other things like Kings of War, but I would argue that the Dreadball people are much more invested.
Well, we've seen that on the internet recently, right? What about my 30 teams? What about my 30 teams I already have? Can I play my 30 teams in this?
I get the impression that it was a conscious decision to not do whatever version they're on. It's not a new version. What is the truncated version of Blood Bowl called? Is it called Sevens or something?
I don't know, actually.
But I think it's along that lines, right? It's a smaller team of Dreadball compared to what we used to play.
Reportedly still a 2-hour game, though. Reportedly. I've only got that secondhand. Someone must have read or seen it somewhere, but which, to be honest, I would have... It's the thing about Blood Bowl for me, for quite a, on one level, quite a simple game. Even though there's lots of interactions, it's always felt a bit long.
It is very non-deterministic.
Mm.
You roll the dice and you just wait and see what happens. There's probably really, really good players at Blood Bowl that are able to make the right decisions to put them in a position to be able to handle and mitigate the randomness. I'm not one of them.
Yeah. So you're really making a whole bunch of new decisions every turn.
Yeah, and I'm making stupid ones a lot. I'm going to take this guy, and the ogre's going to throw him with the ball. Yeah, for me, Blood Bowl is too random of a game for me to really take it seriously. But I know there's people that love it, and that's fine. But for me, I enjoy Blood Bowl. I do play Blood Bowl. I've got a couple teams, and it's fun. But I don't take it too seriously, because if I did, I would just get angry.
Yeah. I think it's one of those. You have to go into it expecting anything to happen is what my experience has been. And if you do that, I think it's a very enjoyable and, fun game, and can be immersive in that fun.
Well, what's been going on with the 4th edition in Australia? How's the feedback been?
I think the feedback is largely positive. It's hard to say. There's a couple of today, actually, as we record in Sydney. There's pretty much the largest tournament to have been run in Sydney in a long time is getting underway with Kakwa's TOing it, calling it, I think it's the Kakwa Cup.
I love it.
And so they've got 20-odd or 20-something players playing, and they'll host the Australian Masters again this year in Sydney. So we've got a little event. We're doing 1,500 points, actually, coming up at 4 games in a day. So that'll be interesting in a couple of weeks' time, although that's a little bit undersubscribed at the moment. I'm finding it a bit, given I haven't been online a lot, I'm finding it a bit hard to keep up to date with what it's really like, but I'm certainly not seeing complaints. But I'm torn between thinking like, there seem to be a good amount of people going to tournaments, but not necessarily a lot of online positive chat. I don't know what to make of that. Like I said earlier, I do think it is primarily around that we are in a little bit of a waiting phase. And I think once we get either the next or the next two books, that second and third data point, I think if we're not seeing it starting to grow by the third book, they won't get new players with books 4, 5, 6. Yeah, because by the time we get the third book, there's enough armies with new stuff that we should see plenty of people participating with some form of army.
Hopefully they're basing decisions on what armies go into the books based on data, right? And hopefully that means they're looking at companion. That if they look at companion, they can rank armies by how many lists are being created and how many players are building lists for those armies. They should be able to determine what are their more popular armies.
Actually, do you know what I think will be a little bit make and break? I think the redo of some of the tropes is coming. I mean, Ronnie alluded to it with elves, right? He said in the Australian one that there's definitely elves coming, and I think there'll definitely be dwarves because they've got some really good sculpts from Vanguard and things for dwarves. But how those redo of the tropes is received, I think will be really important for the health of the game. And what about locally for you? I mean, like you said, you hadn't been to the store, but are people playing Kings locally?
They are playing, and they had a one day that I couldn't attend, and we had the Blue Sea Brawl, and I think there's another event coming up in around Chattanooga, and that's called Axe Grinder, so that's going to be well attended. So
I would call it Choo Choo.
The Chattanooga Choo Choo?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you got the reference. We were talking about young people before off air, right, within the workplace. Man, even when I'm trading or whatever now or with my staff, my Zoolander references just fall on deaf ears. They just look at me blankly. I'm like, so you're not an ambi-turner?
I make weekly stepbrother comments. 75% of the time, it falls flat.
Oh, no.
I am so disappointed. I don't know. They're into other stuff, Matt. I guess that just means we're old.
They're not watching, iconic movies.
No, they're watching K-pop Demon Hunter, which there's nothing wrong with K-pop. I love K-pop Demon.
Mate, I could sing that album back to front to back at the moment. I'll tell you that. With the kids, it's always on in the car. Well, you're my little soda pop, Rob.
Oh gosh, same. Yeah, I will say those are some banger songs though.
It is. I mean, when I watched it for the first time with them, I was like, man, it's not hard to see how K-pop gets so big, right? And I mean, for them, that really was the breakthrough into the States. I can't believe we ended up on K-pop. Yeah, we're turning into Unplugged.
Oh, you know what? We're not talking about Kings of War. I will say, I give them a shout out. I've really been loving Harry and Corey been on recently on a bunch of those episodes. They've been doing a great job. I've been loving their recent content.
Yeah. I think it's I've been keeping up with a lot of content on Kings recently, to be honest. I've got to listen. I'm assuming Bane Chat have released another episode or two. I've got to get on and have a listen to that.
They've been very good as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm really glad there's an English podcast that's covering that local scene, right? Like we need it, right? We needed something like that.
Plus, I do love hearing, a bit of English, British variation of accents on the airwaves to soothe me. Takes me back to Mama. No, it's very good, and some of the work Glenn's been doing on those Zerkali are just outstanding.
Out of control.
Yeah,
they're out of control. Yeah, they are too good.
What is your next step for your hobby challenge, Rob?
So I'm going to start building the infantry stuff. I'm going to start building infantry. I mentioned on the last time we chatted about this at length, I'm still concerned about really diving into the shooting stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and build some of the shooting stuff. I'm just not going to go all shooting stuff. I think at the end of the day, I'll probably end up with an army that's got a couple of every unit, like two of these, and just, again, I am not building an army list. Other than I am conscious of making sure that I have enough core troops, right? I do want to have enough core troops. I don't want to build all special and auxiliary and, support and then not be able to unlock any of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Yeah, I had something to expand on there, but it's totally gone out of my head.
Because you're old, Matt.
I
'Cause
know.
You're old.
I know. Got distracted by looking at all my bases.
All your bases belong to us. And you don't get that one either. You don't get that right. See, you're not even old enough to get that reference.
No. What was that one from?
That's a video game from like the 90s or 80s where they converted Japanese to English and that's what they translated it as.
Oh, right.
All your bases become to us.
No, I didn't get that one. No, I just, the bases, I don't know what I thought when I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do 40 bases and I'll do them before I start doing the models. But
That's awesome.
It is taking me longer than I thought. But that's the benefit of Trident Realms, I think, is there's a lot of large infantry. Oh, I remember my point because you were talking about infantry models. One thing Mantic still haven't got right for me with models is they still haven't produced easy to put together two-handed models. Like I was putting together the heart piercers, and it reminds me of the old two-handed salamanders. And I know that stuff's a little bit older, but I don't think I've put together a really good, easy to put together two-handed weapon model from them. A lot of them are actually very painful. Yes. Well, what else have we got? Wait, I don't think there's been. There's not been. I don't think we've had any new reviews or anything for the last month or so, Rob. So, we don't have anything to cover on that front. So we might be able to keep this one short and sharp.
Well, glad to catch up with you. If you're wondering why Jeremy's not here, he's at
Banana hammocking around.
Yeah, he's at Adepticon, not playing Kings of War.
I know. So what we should expect from him is 2 or 3 episodes when he gets back. Just he'll interview people, self-edit them, punch them out over the next month or two. That's what you're going to get from Mr. Banana Hammock.
You're expecting a lot from him, I think.
No, we're all very busy at the moment, aren't we? So it's content has been a little bit hard to come by. Although you've got something up with our buddy Trent's back, I hear.
Yeah, so we did record a little thing with Trent, that'll be coming up shortly. We'll get that edited. It's really great to have him back in the States, and with my responsibilities at work usurping some of my free time, it sort of drags my interest a little bit, right? It pulls it down to kind of drain some of the excitement. But man, one evening conversation with Trent, and I'm back all in. I'm like, oh, this is. We all need a person like Trent in our lives. You'll hear it in the future, but this guy is the luckiest person alive because everywhere he goes, he finds the Kings of War community. He's never not had a Kings of War community locally.
Because he's military, isn't he?
He's military adjacent. So he works with the military, but he's not military anymore. But he's now in Virginia. And he's found another great scene. So, yeah, it's like, geez, oh, Pete's. Well, he's in Williamsburg, which for those American people, that's like colonial Williamsburg, right? Where you go and you see how, they have these, I don't think it's an amusement park, but it's like an old, like you walk back in time, right?
Yeah.
This is how the Pilgrims landed, that kind of, So, yeah.
With all the Virginians.
And learning how to churn butter, right? Churning that butter.
I am a big fan of butter. I enjoy a little bit of bread with my butter. That's how I go. Love my butter.
100%. Well, on that note, let's leave it there, or this will get further derailed.
Spreading ourselves too thin.
The Metaphor Man is back.
Yeah, and we just need our peaceful Metaphor Man to come back.
Well, until next time, keep countercharging.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Countercharge. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at counterchargepodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @countercharge15, or by commenting on the Countercharge Kings of War podcast Facebook group. If you enjoy the show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Until next time, keep countercharging. Music is a composition of Kevin MacLeod and is licensed under Creative Commons.
By the way, I love the fact you guys got shout outs, both you and Matt. Yeah. Hey, are your kids into the toys that are coming out for them?
I don't think they'd be overly aware of that yet, actually.
So sidebar. I'm a hardcore action figure collector. My daughter is into this thing, Monster High, which are like.
Oh yeah, I know Monster High.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, these dolls are Monster High adjacent, but they're coming out with the K-pop dolls.
Yeah,
including this is the craziest one. They're coming out with a Mira that's in the sleeping bag. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, all right, I guess that's cool. I don't know. I guess whatever floats your boat.